Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but your feelings. Look at this chart. Have you seen my "In this house we believe" lawn sign? See, it says right on it, we believe in science. Right, which is why you demanded no one even debate whether COVID could have escaped from the one lab in the one city where they were studying it. How far-fetched. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke.
All right, so not too long ago, we put out a video calling out Bill Maher. Yeah, the same guy who's been a hardcore lefty for years. He absolutely went off on his own pick for president, Kamala Harris. But what we didn't really get into was the wild backstory behind all of it. Well, lucky for you, that's exactly what we're breaking down today. Why did Bill Maher suddenly turn on someone he actually voted for? And get ready for this. Why did he have some surprisingly nice things to say about Trump?
Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers.
The first and most painfully obvious reason Maher didn't vote for Kamala Harris? She had about as much appeal as a root canal, not just among conservatives, but even within her own party. Her campaign never really took off, but that didn't stop her team from trying to force her into the spotlight like some cringy TikTok trend. They brought in every celebrity they could find, Mindy Kaling, Meghan Markle, Lizzo, hoping their star power would somehow make Kamala more likable. They set up influencer collaborations, staged awkward cooking segments, and even had her dancing on camera, as if that was the secret to winning an election. Maher, in classic fashion, saw right through it, sarcastically remarking that what voters really wanted was a VP with great TikTok moves. Some argue that Harris wasn't popular simply because she only had a few months to campaign, as if that was the only thing keeping her from overwhelming public support. Come on, that excuse is as flimsy as her approval ratings. The reality? Even if Joe Biden himself had been the one running, he would have crashed and burned just as badly. Why? Because the Democratic policies being pushed at the time were about as appealing as a warm glass of expired milk. Take their relentless push for EV mandates, for example. They wanted Americans to ditch their gas-powered cars, whether they liked it or not. But shocker, not everyone is eager to pay Tesla-level prices just to show off at a stoplight. Then there was their soft-on-crime stance, where shoplifters walked out of stores like they were contestants on Supermarket Sweep. Unsurprisingly, voters weren't exactly thrilled about skyrocketing car prices and criminals getting a free pass. Who could have guessed? But that wasn't the only reason Maher didn't back Kamala. Another major factor? He straight up called her incompetent. Besides being wildly unpopular, Kamala Harris was, according to Bill Maher, shockingly incompetent.
In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
And honestly, it's hard to disagree. She was given one of the administration's biggest challenges to handle, the border crisis. And, well, we all saw how that went. Instead of tackling the issue head-on, she treated it like an annoying group project and barely put in any effort. When she finally made a trip to the border after months of pressure, it felt more like a PR move than real leadership. Her so-called strategy? Vague speeches about root causes and a few half-hearted diplomatic visits, where she simply told migrants, do not come. If you have any doubts about Maher's criticism, just watch this clip.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem.
Meanwhile, illegal crossings surged, cities were overwhelmed, and the rest of us were left wondering if our so-called border czar even knew where the border was. Every time she was asked about the situation, she responded with one confusing, rambling answer after another. So much fluff, so little substance. It was like watching a student try to hit a word count on an essay they didn't study for. The border crisis wasn't just a policy failure, it was a test, a preview of what the country could expect if Kamala ever took full control. And let's just say, she didn't exactly pass with flying colors. Instead of actually addressing the problem, she treated it like an annoying inconvenience, dodging responsibility and hoping no one would notice. But people did notice, including Bill Maher. Even as a liberal, he couldn't ignore the disaster she left behind. And that brings us to the third reason Maher completely tore into Kamala Harris, her dishonesty. Just watch how this CNN journalist picks apart her claims.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occurred,
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
Kamala Harris was loudly against Trump's border wall, until suddenly she wasn't. During her 2019 campaign, she mocked it as a pointless, medieval vanity project and a complete waste of taxpayer money. She even voted against funding it in the Senate, making her stance crystal clear. But fast forward to 2023 and surprise, the Biden administration quietly approved new border wall construction in Texas. Turns out the border crisis wasn't going to fix itself. And when Harris was confronted about this obvious reversal, she did what she does best: deflect and deny. Enter Anderson Cooper, who actually pressed her on it during an interview. When he pointed out that the administration was actively building more wall, Harris confidently responded, "No, we're not." Cooper, probably resisting the urge to roll his eyes, had to remind her that the Department of Homeland Security had already confirmed the project. It was classic Harris, caught in a lie, dodging reality, and hoping nobody would notice. But Maher, along with plenty of Americans, was paying attention. And that brings us to the fourth reason Maher had no problem tearing into his own pick for president: her outdated, ineffective policies.
You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and see their election loss as a result of racism and Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but your feelings. Look at this chart. Have you seen my "In this house we believe" lawn sign? See, it says right on it, we believe in science. Right, which is why you demanded no one even debate whether COVID could have escaped from the one lab in the one city where they were studying it. How far-fetched. Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much has unfortunately had children who are retarded.
The left pushed some of the most mind-bogglingly absurd policies, so absurd that even die-hard liberals like Bill Maher had to take a step back and say, wait, what? It almost felt like a contest to see who could come up with the most ridiculous idea and still say it with a straight face. Take the whole issue of biological men competing in women's sports. Suddenly, decades of progress for female athletes were thrown out the window because feelings were prioritized over fairness. Women who had trained their entire lives for a shot at victory were now losing to competitors with an undeniable biological advantage. And if anyone dared to question it, they were instantly labeled a bigot. Then there was the bizarre contradiction of LGBTQ activists proudly wearing Queers for Palestine shirts, supporting a group that, spoiler alert, doesn't support them back. Nothing says progressive enlightenment quite like championing a cause that would literally outlaw your existence. Maher, always the realist, couldn't ignore the irony.
Step into Hollywood, where the drama spills off the screen and into the real world. The glossy image of the entertainment industry is starting to crack, revealing a whole new layer of chaos. Once the epicenter of creativity and endless entertainment, it now feels stuck in a constant whirlwind of trouble. With studios collapsing, streaming platforms hemorrhaging money, and creators caught in the middle, things have never been more turbulent. But no story stands out quite like the explosive showdown between Robert De Niro and Warner Brothers. And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, Bill Maher enters the fray, publicly calling out De Niro and stoking the flames of their already heated feud.
So why is Trump winning? I mean, the New York Times poll this week came out, and maybe this will change it with the State of the Union address, but Trump was beating him rather soundly. It was quite a warning light, 48 to 43, also winning way more among women than he had before, winning outright Latinos. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I just don't want to feel the way I did, and many of us don't, after the election in 2016, where we couldn't believe that it happened. The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I'd never play him as an actor because I can't see any good in him. Nothing.
For those just tuning in, Robert De Niro, the iconic actor behind unforgettable roles in classics like The Godfather Part 2, Raging Bull, and Goodfellas, has recently been dropped from 2 major Warner Brothers projects. These films were set to showcase De Niro in his legendary mob boss role, something he's mastered over decades. Together, the projects were worth a staggering $40 million. But instead of bringing those characters to life, De Niro is now locked in a legal battle, accusing Warner Brothers of firing him unfairly due to his political views. At first, this looked like a typical Hollywood situation. Warner Brothers had cast De Niro for 2 roles tailor-made for his intense, commanding screen presence. With both films expected to draw large audiences, the studio was counting on De Niro's star power to deliver. His $40 million payday was a testament to his status as one of Hollywood's top-paid actors. But as with many Hollywood dramas, things took an unexpected turn. Out of nowhere, Warner Brothers announced they were cutting ties with De Niro, scrapping him from both films. For an actor of his caliber, this was a major shakeup. Naturally, rumors began to fly. Was it a contract dispute? Creative differences? The truth was far messier. De Niro quickly fired back, claiming he was axed for political reasons, accusing Warner Brothers of bowing to pressure from public figures and groups who opposed his outspoken views. De Niro has always been known for speaking his mind, and his bold political and social opinions have sparked both praise and controversy. Now, he's arguing that his willingness to voice his thoughts has cost him big roles. But Warner Brothers has a much different and far more contentious take on the situation. Insiders from the studio argue that De Niro's firing wasn't about his political stance, but how he expressed it. Sources say his controversial comments angered a large portion of the public, forcing Warner Brothers to make the tough decision to part ways with the actor to protect their brand. Robert De Niro is notorious for never holding back, and his bold views on political and social issues have sparked both admiration and controversy throughout his career. Now, he's claiming that speaking his mind has cost him major roles, but Warner Brothers is offering an even juicier explanation. Studio insiders say the decision to part ways with De Niro wasn't about his politics, but rather the way he voiced them. Allegedly, the actor made a series of inflammatory remarks that ruffled a lot of feathers and offended large swaths of the public. This reportedly triggered Warner Brothers executives, including CEO David Zaslav, to step in and take decisive action. Things didn't stop there. De Niro's financial demands only added fuel to the fire. Sources say he requested a whopping $60 million for the 2 films, plus higher residuals, all while the studio was already facing budget concerns. As tensions built, Warner Brothers made the call to sever ties, a move that quickly sparked a public frenzy. Refusing to go down without a fight, De Niro is now gearing up for a legal battle that could rival anything he's faced on screen. He's suing Warner Brothers and CEO David Zaslav, claiming they fired him for political reasons. In his lawsuit, De Niro accuses the studio of buckling under pressure from groups opposing his views and intentionally sabotaging his career by cutting him from the projects. He's demanding $40 million in damages, the same amount he was set to earn. Despite his claims, many legal experts and industry insiders think his case is shaky, suggesting it's more about saving face than securing a legal win. On the other hand, Warner Brothers is standing firm, insisting their decision was based on De Niro's controversial behavior and the professional risks it posed, not his political opinions. If the legal drama wasn't enough, De Niro is launching a full-blown PR campaign. He's lined up appearances on podcasts, radio shows, and talk shows, including The Howard Stern Show, to tell his side of the story. His mission? To cast himself as a victim of corporate censorship in an industry that he argues no longer tolerates differing opinions. Expect fiery speeches, pointed critiques, and emotional pleas as De Niro takes his fight into the public eye. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers is left dealing with the fallout. The two films De Niro was supposed to star in are now in serious jeopardy. One is facing massive budget cuts, and the other may be canceled entirely. Replacing an acting legend like De Niro is no easy task, and the studio is scrambling to save their investment. To add fuel to the fire, De Niro's former co-stars have been told by their agents and managers to steer clear of him, a classic Hollywood move when someone's reputation is in jeopardy. This isolation has only deepened De Niro's sense of betrayal and frustration. But De Niro's clash with Warner Brothers isn't just a personal spat. It's a reflection of the bigger issues shaking up Hollywood right now. The entertainment industry is in the midst of a massive upheaval, with streaming services upending traditional business models, public opinion gaining more power than ever, and studios walking a tightrope of potential controversy. Even A-listers like De Niro aren't immune to the fallout from their actions. For Warner Brothers, cutting ties with De Niro may have been a strategic move to protect against professional risks, but this decision also exposes the tricky balancing act studios face when trying to manage creative freedom, public perception, and financial pressures. Even competitors like Disney are feeling the heat, showing just how high the stakes are in the battle for dominance in the entertainment world. As for De Niro, his place in Hollywood is now up in the air. The legal showdown with Warner Brothers could drag on for months, possibly even years, and the damage to his public image may take even longer to repair. But if there's one thing De Niro is known for, it's his resilience. Whether he's playing a mob boss or taking on $1 billion studio, he's never been one to back down from a fight. One thing's for sure, this saga is far from over. The next chapter promises to be just as dramatic, messy, and captivating as the ones before it.